Well, Mr. Laolu Akande joins us now, and we're going to start our discussion from the area of security. You just heard the Chief of Naval Staff, give an update on some of the things that the Navy is doing to ensure that Nigeria's waters, Nigeria's coastal areas are safer. But yesterday, we were told that the Chief of Army Staff has now relocated to Benue as a result of the current crisis going on in some areas in Benue State. And there are questions as to what results this will achieve, because let's not forget that before now, I think it was in 2015 when the Commander-in-Chief, then President Muhammadu Buhari, asked his chiefs, his security chiefs, to move to Maiduguri to make sure that the Boko Haram crisis, which was then raging, which we also understand is resurging now, was stemmed and brought under control. And some people said, well, results were achieved, even though Borno State and the Northeast in general remained an ongoing concern. So will this achieve a permanent result in Benue State? These are some of the questions that we will be asking this morning. Mr. Laolu Akande is the host of Inside Sources. Welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Good morning, Mark.
It's good to see you. Good to see you too. I heard you and Kayla, discussing the other day, and I wished I was there in the studio today.
Well,
I'm back here today. Yes,
Great.
indeed. So this is what we have now heard, because it would seem that the flood situation in Mokwa has taken attention somewhat. I mean, has taken the attention of the media, as it rightly should. I mean, we're talking about 160 lives here. Yeah. Every life is important, and we also understand that lives too have been lost in Benue as a result of the security situation there. We had heard that sometime in March or April, Benue and Plateau were in focus. It was saying that there was some intervention. The NSA visited Benue State, and things calmed down somewhat. Even Plateau State too, things seem to temper down. But in recent times, we have now heard a resurgence. Right. And there are questions as to what exactly is happening. But it would seem that the Chief of Army Staff is not waiting to be asking questions. He wants to be there to see what exactly is happening by himself. How optimistic are you that this would achieve different results from what we have been seeing before now?
Okay, so I think that it is a good thing that the Chief of Army Staff felt the need to go and see things for himself, because particularly in Benue, it has become a very serious case of impunity. A lot of the communities there speak about the fact that those killings actually has not stopped. It may taper down and then come back. And many of them speak to the fact that the invaders, the intruders, whatever we call them, they have acquired a certain level of audacity that that nobody can stop them, and lives continue to be lost. People are being killed, land are being taken over. So it's a very serious situation that is happening in Benue State, particularly, and Plateau. So I like the fact it is reassuring that you have the Chief of Army Staff saying that, look, I'm just going to go and see what is happening here. What we then hope will happen is that this won't just be a touch and go situation. We hope that the Chief of Army Staff will ensure that there are enough people on the ground to prevent this recurring decima of loss of life, of killings, of brutal and very despicable attacks on innocent communities. So we hope, as some reports have suggested, that this is not just a visit and then it comes back. I don't know whether...
I mean, they said it's a relocation. That's what we were told.
Well, okay, so we hope that it's a relocation, and what that should mean is that the military, there's going to be a serious attention paid to what is happening there, because these are also Nigerians, these are citizens, they have a right to life. What is happening in Benue and Plateau it must compel all of us to ensure that we stop it. So yeah, I mean, good news that the Chief of Staff felt that it's a very important thing to focus on.
It's even more important when you now look at the fact that, when you hear the narrative that has been coming out of that place. I mean, if our correspondent was on the ground in some of those communities, and what you will see is a desertion of the towns.
Yeah.
People are carrying their things and are leaving en masse. And what they always report is that when they leave, other people come and settle in their places, you know. So there are questions as to, and they, as a result of that, you consistently hear this thing of it's an agenda. What they're trying to do is take over our lands, grab our lands. And I mean, you heard the governor of Plateau State when he said that this is a genocide.
Right?
And these are some of the things, I mean, this narrative that has remained, particularly within the North Central region. And people will be asking, is it that we're powerless to do anything about it? Are we really, is the government deaf to some of the narratives that have come out from the North Central region, the Middle Belt area? Or is it that they consider themselves powerless? Or is it that they don't see, because that was part of the failings, that was part of the accusations leveled against President Muhammadu Buhari, especially given the fact that those who were the marauders, you know, people kept on saying, oh, they're Fulani people. These are some of the things that you have to ask, how does government react when they hear some of these conspiracy theories? I don't want to say they're conspiracy, but some of these theories, let me leave them as theories. Because people who experience it, you know, have a right to interpret it however it is they deem fit.
I mean, the very important point that you made, Mark, where that bears repetition is the fact that when these marauders, intruders, whatever we call them, when they come and attack a community and people, you know, run for their lives, you know, we have instances, people have spoken about how when they come back, their houses have been taken over. Other people are living in their houses, not just the land where they do their farming and stuff. And they are right in front of their, I met a particular person from, I think in Benue, that said right in front of his house, and he just couldn't go in. I mean, he didn't even have the courage to even claim his own house that he built, and people are living there. You know, the marauders.
So you've met someone like that?
Yeah, oh yes. I mean, actually, right here in the studio, you know, and of course, the person was telling me the story after the show. I said, you should have mentioned this during the show. So there are people, our people in this part of the country, not, particularly Benue and Plateau. What they are going through is below par. We should not have government, and not just government, even all of us as a people. This is something that should really bother us. We should really, really be bothered about that kind of conduct, where people's land and homes are taken away, and the people who took it illegally, people who killed to take it. I mean, is this a conquest that is going on or what? So, and I challenge not just the government, I challenge our religious leaders. I challenge the traditional rulers. That's the reason why we have leaders in communities. Why do we have this so much silence? We need to scream, and we need to scream out very loudly about what is happening in Benue and Plateau. It's terrible. It's terrible. And you know, we must put the focus on this matter and stop this kind of behavior, this kind of conduct. It's as if that place is targeted, and some people want to take it over by force of arms. You know, it reminds you of the history that we were taught of conquest. You know, but Nigeria is a free nation, and the people in Benue and people in Plateau, they are citizens, and they have fundamental human rights which are being, you know, flagrantly violated by these intruders.
And what I always, you know, what always alarms me is how it is described within the, you know, security sector. It's communal clash, you know, farmers herders clash. For sometimes we see that it doesn't quite cover what it is that these people are describing.
It doesn't, you know. I would think that a reasonable theory, you know, based on what I have seen and known, a reasonable theory must be the fact that there is an agenda, clearly. Now, we don't know who are behind. This is the kind of thing that our intelligence, you know, agencies are supposed to sort out. But anybody that denies that there is no agenda is a waste of time. There is an agenda. Some people are trying to do some things. There's no doubt about that. That is as clear as daylight. You know.
Yeah, I think that also ties into what it is that the Minister of Defense said, even he visited Benue recently, and
Right.
he said that, something very dangerous is happening in the Sahel region, and that also explains the resurgence of Boko Haram,
Right.
which we're seeing in the northeast of the country. I don't know if as citizens, so while government might have that information, what the question for me is, how do they then galvanize citizens' awareness in such a way that we are aware but also ready for whatever it is that these people with their agenda, we don't know who they are, might throw our way?
Yeah, so, well, the people the people in Benue and Plateau, they are aware of what is going on. They are especially some of those communities, they are the victims. So they already understand. I mean, just like the example that we cited of people who were scared away, and then when they thought that there was peace, came back, but they couldn't take over their land, they couldn't take over their houses. Other people are already living there illegally. They have nothing, no resort. There are instances where some of the attackers were identified by people in the community. They identified them that these are the attackers, and then they were arrested, and then they are back in the community, and they're boasting that, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get rid of you guys. People have these experiences. Nigerians living in those states, they have these experiences. They are talking about it. So they are already aware of it. It is those of us that are outside Benue and Plateau that we need to, educate ourselves and don't ignore what is happening in those places. We shouldn't ignore what is happening. If we raise our voices enough, the government will have to step up its game. While we were serving, some of the sentiments that we shared internally was that if somebody like President Buhari, being a military person and coming from that group, from that ethnic group, that most people suspected, are involved, that maybe he should be the one to solve the problem, because those people will respect him. That didn't happen, much as they tried, but we couldn't conclusively finish it. It is now up to the president, the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to please consider this as an affront on the very idea of Nigerians living in peace, the right of those people to life. So the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, must end this problem. The governor has already told us that it's a genocide. That's a big deal. It has international implications. The International Criminal Court can then come in, people can go there. We don't need to go to that extent. We can put a stop to it. And we need more troops. And we've been talking about this. We need more troops on the ground, whether it's police or military. We need more troops so that those places can be secured. If you have the presence of more military people, maybe it will become more difficult for these intruders to operate the way they like.
Well, we'll see, just how the presence of the Chief of Army Staff, what difference it makes, his presence, his relocation to Benue State. We have to thank you, as always, for coming on the program. Laolu Akande is the host of Inside Sources and a former presidential aide.